Hi, I'm Angified. I started Angified Presents.
We share the love of music.
It has been medicine and therapy. Nothing else worked.
It has saved many of us. With mental health, we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with your ears.
Form that heart of unity and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings,
And ourselves.
we stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different, with opinions and beliefs.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are family.
We ask that you join us in a magical journey with artists from around the world. Open your minds, let in the love,
and listen with your hearts.
We all want a better tomorrow. Be one.
Communicate and look out for one another. And then, and only then, will you find the world.
We will find peace in all the world.
You'll find the world. And you will find in this shining world. He was among us in every boy and girl. Many have been broken, red hearts turn black. Love will melt the ice and turn it back, and you will find the world. You will find the world. You will find the world. And when you find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a whole new world, a better place for our children's futures at stake. And you'll find, with music in your soul, laughter in your hearts, together we can grow a better place, with love in us all. And you will find, together we can save it all. And you will find, a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a better place, a whole new world for our children's futures
Rawr.
Hey, Chris Liepe here. This channel is all about helping people make better music, whether that's with their guitar, whether that's singing, or both. And in this lesson, I'm going to talk about a way that I've been using forever to develop my ear for harmony. Ever since I could strum the guitar, I've been doing this. And I've gotten a fair amount of questions lately. How do I get better at singing harmony vocals? How do I develop that? Well, it's all about developing your ear first. So this is really simple, and it actually works best with a really simple and familiar chord progression. So here's how I do it. Here's the chord progression we're going to be using. G, C, D. But we're going to do, and this, you've likely heard it played this way before, and you've likely played it many times this way. We're going to do a G, like this. Then we're going to do a C, but that's a C2. More on that in a minute. It doesn't have a third. It's 1, 2, 5. And then we're going to do a D sus. Also doesn't have a third. It's 1, 4, 5. If you were looking at it in terms of D, that would be notes 1, 3, 5 and 1, 4, 5. So the progression again is G, regular old G, then to a C2, so a C chord without a third, and then a D sus 4. Age-old progression. But when you attach your voice to it in the following way, it really helps you develop your ear for harmony. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down the notes in the chords with our voice. Now, if you've been watching this channel at all, you know that I'm a big proponent of, getting out the guitar and just singing. Singing something over your guitar, coming up with a melody, those sorts of things. If it's singable, it's memorable. In this case, we're actually going to arpeggiate with our voice, and we're going to use our ear to pick out those notes. So it's going to be like this. We're going to sing on O. O, or O, O. So we have 1, 3, and 5. First 3 notes of that chord. Oh. We're just going to make a note, and we're going to sing that over and over again with this particular chord, with G. Then we're going to go to C, so that's La or O, and then O, 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 or O, O. And though I'm saying O, I'm actually thinking in my mind, oh, 1, 2, 5. That's the 2 of a C chord. Oh. So we have oh. Just the G and the C now. Could do that even slower with our voice. Better rhythm there. So I'm infusing the notes of the chords, the specific notes. It would be really easy for me with any chord progression to just sing the basic 1, 3, 5. We're intentionally not doing that. And this is what helps you develop an ear for interesting harmony parts, is having a mind for what's going on inside the unique chord progression that you're playing with, and then infusing that into your voice. So let's take a look at D. Oh, not oh, that would be the triad. 1, 3, 5. We're going to go 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. Oh, 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 oh. So we've got 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. Then we've got 1, 2, 5. And sing these wherever is comfortable in your range. If you have to drop down an octave, whatever, that's a great, 1, 2, 5. But for now, when you're first starting this drill, sing them in order from the root. Don't worry about inversions. Don't invert your chord or your triad at all. Always sing, even if you're having to drop down an octave, still sing them in order. 1, 2, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 2, 5. Then 1, 4, or 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. Oh, 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5. Create some really cool sounds. Now let's try doing it all on O. Full chord progression. Once you get the notes down, really the best way to truly make this your own is to make it as musical as possible. Turn it into a mini song. I think to make this the most musical for me, I'm going to slow down the singing and speed up the strumming a bit. Oh, Now you might be thinking, that sounds an awful lot like just melody. Well, I'm not harmonizing with another voice, but what I'm doing is I'm training my voice, and I'm training my ear most importantly, to be keenly aware and musically aware of what's going on in the chord progression that I'm playing. Now, of course, there are lots of notes you could put in when you're harmonizing or when you're developing a melody that aren't in the chord progression, that aren't in the actual chords that you're playing, but that work in the key. That's not really the point of this exercise, though. The point is that a lot of people, myself included for quite a while, didn't really pay that much attention to what the chord progression and what the chords in the progression were actually doing. And so I would miss out on some inspiration when I was developing my harmony parts vocally. So I encourage you to try this for yourself. Start with this chord progression. Choose another chord progression, maybe even with weirder chords, and break those down with your voice. Break those down with your ear and see what you can come up with. If you want to take your singing further, be sure to join my free singing course linked below. And if you want to learn how to record, be sure to join my free recording course, also linked below. We'll see you for more. Tips for practicing singing in your car, because we all know it's one of the best places to practice. Tip number 1, know your car. That sound you just heard was a B, a little bit sharp. Ah! So I know that I have that sort of pitch reference right when I get into my car before I put on any music at all. You can play around with that a little bit. Tip number 2, grab yourself some earplugs. If you're practicing correctly and really cutting loose, you're going to hurt your ears. You want to be free to be belty and do all sorts of fun things with your voice and experiment without hurting your ears in this small space. Wear earplugs. Tip number 3, jam out to some lo-fi. Oh, it's instrumental, so you can be free. Hey, Chris Liepe here. In this video, we are working on how to sing aggressively, screaming, shouting, adding distortion to our voice without trashing our voice. So we can come alive! Yeah. So we can come alive! So we can come alive! So we can come alive! And all of the problems that come about when someone's trying to figure out how to sing in these ways really stem from one issue. We are looking out at someone we like, a vocal sound that we like, who is singing intensely, and we're making assumptions about how things should feel in our own voice without really knowing anything based on what we hear them doing. Those assumptions are almost always wrong. So I'm going to completely break down how I figured out how to sing aggressively both with pitch and without pitch. I'm going to give you a step-by-step look into what I've done. So you don't have to make any assumptions. You can try and experiment with each one on your own. Before we get started, I just have to say this. If you don't already have a foundational understanding about how your support muscles are supposed to work with regular old singing, these things are going to be pretty difficult for you. I'm likely going to be mentioning things that you may not already be comfortable with and that you need to be comfortable with in order to take your singing to the level that I'm demonstrating in this video. If you do want to explore what your voice can do in either preparation for these types of techniques or just because it's fun, be sure to click the link below and join my free singing course. All right, here we go. I'm going to make a lot of goofy noises. You should too. This is a process of self-discovery for you, for anybody watching these videos. If you're not willing to make stupid noises and make a fool of yourself, you are not going to be able to do this. So that's rule number 1. The first thing we want to do is become intimately aware of how our break works. Stay with me. This is important. The break. Right? I am low. I'm in my chest resonance. I'm high. I'm in my falsetto or my head resonance. We want to accentuate the transition and make it as blatant as possible. You've heard yodelers do this. That crack that you hear is going to be key to our aggressive vocals. So, just like I'm doing, make some noise. Don't make some pitches, make some noise, and see how drastic you can make that break sound. Do it in different parts of your voice. Start super low like I just did. And try to make that sound. Now go high. Tarzan, right? This is good stuff. Now, before we go any further, I want to share with you what aggressive vocals will not include. It will not include Cookie Monster. No, it won't. That hurts my voice to do it for even 10 seconds. It will not include that. It will not include the intentional tightening of our neck or the just singing louder and louder and louder until our voice breaks up. Those both are recipes for vocal fatigue and injury. So we're not going to be doing that. Okay, so back to the vocal break and being keenly aware of how that feels with different volume levels. I'm going to push real hard. And I'm going to be soft, and I'm going to be keenly aware of my vocal break. Okay? The next thing I want to dive into and experiment with is my vocal fry. And fry, that's vocal fry. You can discover that when you go as low as possible and your voice starts to break up and it starts to, it doesn't hurt. You could do this forever. It's actually kind of good for your voice. It's really annoying when you're listening to podcasts and a guy who's delivering the podcast talks in vocal fry for a long time. It can kind of drive you crazy. It's driving me crazy listening to myself. But if you can get to the point where you can talk in vocal fry and even enter a note with vocal fry, what you're doing is you're familiarizing yourself with that feel of that broken voice. Both of these things, that transitional break thing and this fry, they have hints of what it sounds like to really break up your voice, right? So we've got fry, we've got break. Now, you've heard some vocalists do things like this. Maybe when they're singing or something at the end of a phrase. Maybe not, maybe you haven't. But I think I have. I've heard people just dwell on fry alone. And that can be, having a command over vocal fry and singing is really helpful, but that's not really the whole of the sound we're going for. We want to be able to sing energetically and loud, so we have to combine this idea of broken voice, vocal fry, with the idea of this break, which is also a broken up part of our voice. It's this unstable nature that we're going to harness and live in the middle of that while we use just the right pressure from our support muscles. That's how we're going to accomplish the sound. So I'm going to make some more weird noises here, and I'd encourage you to do the same, either while you're watching the video or after you watch the video. Take this stuff to heart. Here are the noises. What I'm doing there, notice I'm not in my very lowest area of my voice, but I am joining together this idea of fry. I'm getting to that area where I'm going to break. And then I'm creating that fry sound right on that break. And I'm letting it go over and under and you can hear more and more as I start once I find that little break point and then add fry to it, but I'm doing it not at the bottom of my range. As I start adding pressure down here, it starts to become more consistently broken up. There it is, right? I'm not actually singing that loud. Or, well, let's not call that singing yet. I could do that all day long. That doesn't hurt my voice at all. And you can hear it because I can speak again. If I had really hurt my voice, there'd be this, I'd be out of it. So we're adding just the right pressure as we experiment with the balance between our vocal break going in between these registers and then that sensation of vocal fry. Vocal fry doesn't just have to happen at the very bottom of your register. It doesn't. Okay, so we're making noises that are starting to resemble that broken up voice. But we're not really aiming for a pitch. Here's where we bring pitch into the game. Let's choose a pitch. I was pretty close to that one. La, 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 la. We're going to make that our target note, and we're going to experiment with, again, push, falsetto, playing with that break, and then inserting vocal fry. Okay? I'm going to do it real slow so you can hear the transition of what I'm doing. Huh? You're hearing less and less pitch as I push more and more, but you still hear the pitch. Now, if you want to eliminate the pitch altogether, you can push a little bit more and think accentuate vocal fry as opposed to think accentuate your falsetto. That's how I think about it. And I'll demonstrate both. We've gotten rid of a lot of pitch, and you heard the cracking in there as I was dialing in that sound. Now, and when you see me push, also, nothing's really changing here other than my face might be getting red. I am pushing a lot from my support muscles. I'm not just getting louder for the sake of getting louder. I'm finding that vulnerability in my break, inserting the vocal fry, and then I am pushing so that it starts to break up, but not more than that. If you start to do more, then you are wasting energy and you will start to fatigue your voice. So it's about living in that transitional period and only giving just enough that you need to make it happen. Here's the same thing demonstrated with pitch. Pure note. A little bit more. There's a little bit of distortion there. You hear me breaking and cracking and all that. Oftentimes, singing aggressively with distortion while pursuing pitch can be more difficult than the no pitch game that we were looking at earlier. But both are come about the same way. It's just how you balance those things. Now, I've got a backing track pulled up, and I'm going to sing the simple phrase, "So we can come alive," over this track. And now that you've heard me make these noises and explain how to start getting there, how to start singing aggressively, both with pitch and without pitch, I'm going to sing over this a bunch of different ways with this backing track so that you can hear how it sounds in a bit of context. Keep all the things that we've talked about in mind. As I vary my intensity, as I vary the amount of grit, as I vary the amount of pitch, you're going to have a little bit more of a mind for understanding how those things are happening. It's not Cookie Monster. It's not sheer force. It's strategy, and it's walking that line. It's finding where that break is, milking that break transition, inserting vocal fry, and then pushing just enough to get to remain teetering in that transitional area. so we can come alive. 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 You start to get a sense for, as you hear me crack, you hear little bits that actually sound kind of cool. So we can come alive. 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 Yeah. So we can come alive. So we can come alive. Yeah. 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 Yeah. So we can come alive. So there I picked which is a C. I was doing A, and I'm doing it all fast, but so we can and then finding right where that break happens, and then pushing. It's right when you find that break, and you'll learn over time to hold it in that area, to hold it even if you're not centered around a particular pitch, you're still sort of thinking a pitch. Oh, so we can come alive. Yeah, so we can come alive. Here we are with some less just screams and more pitch-oriented distortion. So we can come alive. So we can come alive. So we can come alive. You can still hear that pitch. Oh, so we can come alive. Yeah, so we can come alive. Being able to come out of that and then use normal pitches is a great way to sort of ground those sounds. You don't always want to sound all gritty. You want to sound gritty sometimes, and you want to sound smooth other times. Yeah. So we can come alive. Yeah. So we can come alive. So we can come alive. These lessons are so fun to make. I hope you're enjoying them. Again, if you want to take your voice to the next level, be sure to join my free singing course below. If you like these videos, be sure to subscribe and you'll get more. And be sure to leave comments letting me know other things you'd like to discover about your voice. I'd be glad to help you out. We'll see you for more. Good support versus bad support. How it's supposed to look and feel. We're not going like this and pushing in. Our stomach shouldn't be doing that. It shouldn't be a push up into this area. It should be a down. Like that. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Poop muscles. Sometimes it's helpful to lay down so you can get a sense for how inefficient the wrong ways are. Ha, 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 ha. That's the subtle inward look, but I'm focusing down. Ha, ha, ha. See how that engages too much? Ha, ha, ha. Okay. Chris Liepe here, and I exist on YouTube anyway to help you improve in your music, better singing, better guitar playing, better recordings in general. I want to help you make great music. And lately on the channel, that's been a huge focus on vocals. So be sure to check out, if you're into improving your voice, be sure to check out some of the other videos on the channel. Make sure you subscribe. And in this video, I'm really excited about this because I've been getting a lot of questions about it. How do you discover your mixed voice? In case you're not familiar with what a mixed voice is, it's neither your chesty voice like I'm talking in, nor your falsetto, as most people call it. It's actually a blend, a mix of both, and it sounds powerful. It increases your range a ton. It helps you with articulation, and it helps you really to last longer and sing better without getting tired. So being able to discover and efficiently use your mixed voice is a prerequisite, I think, to effective and long-lasting singing. And before we dive in, which will be very soon, I want to encourage you that if you feel frustrated with your voice, or you need to develop a solid foundation to discover what your voice can really do, join my free vocal course listed below. Like most of my videos, I'm not going to talk about body parts. I'm not going to talk about vocal anatomy. I'm going to present some sounds to you. Some of those are going to come from my voice. Some of them are going to come in this video from other examples that I've pulled. And your job in what I present is to internalize not only what you hear, but how it can feel in your own voice. And I'm going to give you some steps to move in that direction. But this is the way that I've found that is most beneficial when it comes to discovering an aspect of your singing voice. It's not about reading books. It's not about learning about vocal anatomy, although that can be interesting. It's about understanding how something sounds, analyzing that sound, and then internalizing the feel of it in your own voice. Even if it doesn't sound exactly like what you're hearing, internalize the feel of it and make it happen. And you'll discover all sorts of cool things about your voice that way. So keep an open mind as I'm making treacherous noises and sharing examples with you. Most people who want to develop a mixed voice are those people wanting to sing higher and realizing they can't do it without this thing that they've heard called the mixed voice. But let's define it a little bit more, and then let's learn how to start feeling how to get there. And in order to do that, I'm going to present you with two musical examples you may have heard before. The first one is from Robert Plant. Robert Plant is probably he's one of the original mixed voice rock singers. And he gives a lot away when he sings, if you're knowing what to look for. And believe it or not, he gives most of that away when it comes to finding our mixed voice in his lower singing. I'm going to play something for you from the very end of Stairway to Heaven. If you've ever heard Robert Plant talk, he doesn't sound like that when he talks at all. He sounds like most men talk. But when he's singing in those notes, and she's buying a stairway to, it doesn't sound like that either. It doesn't sound like this dark, collected sound. It sounds brighter. And Robert Plant, of course, when he sings way higher, you don't really think about it. He just always really high. He howls. Okay. But when he's singing low, he's still doing that. He's developed, and he probably just stumbled upon it. He's developed this habit of always singing in his mixed voice. That's what I'm hearing. let me extrapolate with my own noises. And she's buying a... Clearly, that is a very chesty sound. I can also hit it in full chest sound. No big deal. That's where we want to start when we're developing our mixed voice, with notes that we can hit in our chest resonance. And she's buying a... What I want to be doing is imitating what he's doing. Now, I'm not imitating him so that I can sound like Robert Plant. I'm imitating him so that I can discover something and then make it my own later. So, and he sounds much more like that. And she's buying a stairway to... And she's buying a stairway to... That sounds more like what Robert Plant is doing. So how do you get that sound? A lot of people have trouble even discovering that. And she's by... Well, the key is in vocal fry. And I've talked about vocal fry before. Vocal fry is extremely valuable when you're experimenting with different sounds. Fry. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to sing a note. And like that one... And then we're going to go to fry. And pay special attention to what you're doing in fry. How your throat feels. And then we're going to try to hold the pitch of that note. We're not going to slide down to fry, as we most of the time would when we're speaking. We're not going to slide down to fry. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep the note the same, but we're going to use the throat position of fry while we maintain that note. And it does this bright, weird sound. Now, a lot of people stop there because they don't hear most of their favorite singers sounding like that, and then they go, "Oh, that sounds nasal. I don't want to sound nasal." You got to get the nasal, the I don't want to sound nasal thing out of your head. Sound nasal. It won't be for long if you have an open mind. But I don't want you to ever say again, that sounds nasal. I don't want you to comment on anybody else's voice sounding nasal. I don't want you to say your voice sounds nasal. Be done with it. I'm off my high horse now. And now we've got that very, very bright, we'll call it the Robert Plant end of Stairway to Heaven sound because it's not way high. Now that we've got that, we're going to we're going to push from here. And we're not going to go for any specific pitch, but we are going to push, once we have that tone, we're going to push up with our support muscles. You're going to notice, if you've got things positioned correctly, when you start to push up, you don't break. Let me say that again. You don't break. You are mixing your voices. You are eliminating your break. It sounds weird right now, but that's okay. Think about what you've discovered. The notes, if you're doing that, if you're able to push up like that, the notes that you're hitting are quite high. And they're notes that you could only otherwise find or hit if you were in your falsetto. Now let me share with you another musical example. This is a very old Soundgarden song off their very first EP, Screaming Life, and the song's called Little Joe. And Cornell, he's much younger. He's singing, or shall I say sort of speaking, in this sort of mixed voice in one of the songs. And you can even hear him crack into a falsetto when he pronounces a certain vowel. And then if you listen to the full song, you can hear him go from this mixed voice-ish thing to what we know as, and come to expect in later Cornell career. You can start to hear that grit that comes from inserting grit into your mixed voice. But we have to understand when we're listening and when we're starting our own journey of mixed voice, like everybody had a journey. When you listen to young Cornell doing this and you compare it with the Robert Plant and then you listen to what I'm doing, the pieces start to fall into place into how we're going to discover and start implementing a mixed voice. So here's that sample. Is he going, Little Joe, run for the bar? No, it's thin. Little Joe, run for the border! Little Joe! And you can even hear on Sticks, Sticks and fire, or whatever he says. Little Joe, run for the border, save your brother, mothers, and father. It's this really thin sound, and it's exactly what the Robert Plant thing is, but he's not going for a pitch even. Right here was a huge revelation when I heard this song, that this is where he began. This is how he was playing with his range during that song at this very early EP. And there's so much to be learned from that. Little Joe! Little Joe! Let's get there with the fry. Ah! Ah! It's a higher note. So you might have to start lower. Ah! Ah! There it is. There it is. Push, push. Ah! Little Joe! Little Joe, run for the border! Now, as you push, if you've watched my video on how to scream and be aggressive, you can start applying some of what I talked about there, where if you feel yourself starting to break, push even harder, and it'll start to break up. Little Joe, run for the border! You'll start to do some of that stuff. Now, the key to true pitch-filled aggressive singing is learning how to manage all of these elements together in a way that gives you the desired sound. But let's not get off topic. Go watch that video for more of the screaming aggressive stuff. Let's go there again. Ah, little Joe, little Joe, little Joe, run for the border! Save yourself, save your mother and father! Little Joe! There it is. I've got a backing track pulled up here, and I'm going to use the words "count me in" as my experimental phrase, and I'm going to make some noise, just like I did, but in the context of music, and then I'm going to play around with those words and improvisational melodies with my voice, using mixed voice, so you can hear the progression of how to get from pointless noise like we're making in this self-discovery stage to putting it into music. Now you notice during my singing that as I put it to music and as I started to push more, that there was some grit that naturally found its way into my voice, which is good, right? We want that aggressive sound. We don't want it to sound just like whining. We want it to have a bit more of a round tone. That takes some time, and more on that in another video. For now, take inspiration from the end of Stairway to Heaven, Robert Plant, and Little Joe, Chris Cornell, and the noises that I've made today, and see if you can start to find your mixed voice. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to my free vocal course to take all this stuff even further and develop a solid foundation for your singing. And be sure to subscribe if you like what's going on this channel. We'll see you for more. There's all sorts of superstitions out there when it comes to what singers should drink, how they should drink, when they should drink it. I'm here to make it very simple for you. First of all, a little bit of alcohol before a performance or a recording session or a YouTube video can be quite nice. It calms the nerves. It takes the focus off some of the fears you may have going into things. But remember, moderation. No alcohol if you're under 21. Second of all, teas, potions, elixirs, combinations of things, those are fine to drink in different capacities while you're not singing. When you're singing, stick to room temperature water. It minimizes the amount of saliva. You're not going to shock your vocal cords with hot tea or sweet or fizzy things. Stick to the good stuff when you're singing. Save the rest of it for outside. Most singers, when going on the quest to find beautiful vibrato, start in the completely wrong place. They go for the big notes. They go for the belts. They listen to these amazing notes from talented vocalists that have this wonderful arc of vibrato, and they don't realize all of the subtleties on a sensation-based level that are happening in that person's body to get there. They oversimplify by going, oh, energetic, loud, supported, it sounds amazing. And then they try, and they start to realize that there's all this tension creeping in, and the sound that they're making is almost impossible to control and make musical. It sounds forced, it sounds tense, it sounds pretend. Not at all the magic and music that they're hearing from their inspirations. There's also a more subtle approach that tends to throw people off when pursuing vibrato. It's the one that's not quite fully straight. There's variance, but it's so subtle in the way that it shapes the notes that it's almost impossible to figure out just by listening and imitating. The voice just starts shaking and becomes uneasy in pitch. That's not the vibrato we want either. If you want to find truly musical, expressive, and connected vibrato, you have to start from a different place. Listen to these amazing vocalists release into vibrato. They've all got something in common. Notice this element of relaxing into vibrato. The entrance is generally a bit more powerful, and then as they prepare to exit the note, the vibrato carries them out. Oh, lay. Now you say, that's just a different style of vibrato. I don't want to do this. I want the big, powerful voice with the big, powerful vibrato. Keep listening. Developing great vibrato requires understanding and introspection in two main areas: support and the ability to let your larynx freely float and bounce just a little bit. For support, If you need help dialing that in, click the link below in my pinned comment or video description and join my free course. I'll help you with support and a lot of other things as well. For letting your larynx float and bounce, there's a specific way that you can practice this and then combine it with proper support to get both this wonderful release into vibrato that we heard on the later examples and then gradually develop it into those climactic notes with the perfect amount of vibrato we all love. But we can't start with the big notes. We can't start with the supported belted vibrato because we're missing the subtle, more nuanced muscle memory developments we must get a handle on first. So here's a super simple, accessible exercise you can use to take yourself all the way from the initial discovery process to those wonderful sounding vibrato. Start with the sound yai, yai. Say it in head voice. Yai, yai, yai. Make sure you're not reaching for this when you're saying in head voice. So you're not going yai, yai. It's a very relaxed head voice. Yay, yay, yay. You should have a free, tension-free throat and chin. Yay, yay. It shouldn't be up. It should be down and relaxed. Yay, yay, yay. Now, take this sound and start in head voice and then exit into chest voice. Try to do it without cracking. Yay, yay, yay. Not this. Yay, yay, yay. Get the breath pressure, support, get the breath pressure right, coordinated with the downward motion of this, of what I'm asking you to do, so that you don't experience a crack. You just experience a more smooth transition. Yay, 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 yay. No, yay. Yay! Yes. And then throw the sound upward while freely dropping your larynx and opening things up, kind of like a yawn, before grounding in your chest voice, like this. Yay! 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 Work on it till you can do it without cracking. Not like this. Yay! Yay! Like this. Yay! 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 Notice how I'm moderating my breath pressure and I'm letting my larynx bounce a little bit. I'm practicing this bounce. Yay, yay, yay. But it's all done very softly. There's no belting going on here. Yay, 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 yay. Feel how things are moving freely. I'm not fixing anything. Then catch that head voice bounce that's happening as you open your throat multiple times before grounding down into chest voice. Now notice, you can see my Adam's apple and my larynx, my voice box, bouncing freely. It's not fixed at all. And then I kind of relax into the end of the exercise each time and then start again. You probably notice when you're doing this that your tongue, because you're forming the word yai, 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 yai. You're doing that quickly and your tongue is doing this kind of thing. Now, we're going to remove the role of the tongue. Our tongue has helped guide everything into place up to this point. But now we're going to remove this I sort of sound, and we're going to try to preserve the bouncy sensation that we're experiencing in our head voice. So it went from to notice I'm still bouncing. Then we ground. We're practicing that throw, right? Yeah, 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 yeah. Try a different vowel. It's this bouncing sensation that is combined with a more direct connection to our support that allows us to go from this sort of bouncy ghost sound to a more connected musical vibrato. Start with a well-supported, comfortable chest voice note on I. Give it some energy, and then practice abandoning into that head voice float, and then trail down and ground in your chest voice. Okay, so it sounds like this. Now notice I cracked when I transferred from the note to the exercise. That's normal when you're dialing this in. Keep going and see if you can connect the note with the exercise. The note, remember, just stays straight. It's starting to do something kind of cool. Ooh, there. I chose a slightly different note to go in. Cool. Now belly laugh over that comfortable chest voice note. You should feel all that energy down, low, poop muscles. Not here yet. So my note, don't worry that you lose pitch. Make it really exaggerated. Just make sure you're feeling it all low and you're not trying to contort or cause any sort of variance in pitch or energy here. Okay, we're separating the sensations. Okay, so start straight, belly laugh it, and then abandon into this exercise with the floating larynx. So what we're doing by combining all of these nuanced sensations is preventing ourselves from locking into one set of dynamics and one posture, which is how vibrato actually gets trapped. If we can connect to a well-supported note while singing it straight, abandon into a belly laugh, and then abandon into this other exercise we've gotten familiar with from a muscle memory and sensation perspective, we can blend all of these approaches in real time. It's a balancing act that creates the musical things that we hear in wonderful vibratos. And over time, with lots of practice and introspection, you're going to be able to take this low impact head voice larynx float, and you're going to be able to apply that sensation over more powerful chest voice and even mixed voice notes as you learn to balance the sensations. Notice there's a little bit of belly laugh combined with a little bit of that larynx bounce and that larynx float. And it's an interplay between the two. Also notice that I'm not getting stuck on one particular resonance or placement while I'm doing this. I'm moving up, I'm moving down, even if I'm holding a note out. As I practice moving around registers, placement, resonance, and the balance between belly laugh engagement, which is just one component, and float. All these things can work together in various combinations and balances to give you a trained, natural musical vibrato. Again, if you would like more help dialing in these nuances, starting with support, click the link below and join my free course in the pinned comment or video description. We'll see you for more. Belting has more to do with the way the sound vibrates coming out of your face than it does volume. That's a common misconception. This is a belt. Ah! That note is forward. I feel it in the front of my face. I feel it vibrating here. This is not a belt. Ah! Ah! But it's about the same volume. That note is placed further back. I feel it more in the back of my throat, the back of my soft palate, that area. If you want a belt, make sure you feel it. You're directing the sensation of that note towards the front of your face.
I love you, oh love. love you. Oh, love, oh, do you have thoughts? I'd like to share mine with you. Can we share? Are you gonna spread love or hate? Are you gonna spread love or hate? Are you gonna spread love or hate?